Okay, if everything is working properly, I'm going to assume that we are live. I just need to check one thing. That's to see if I have sound. Yes, we do have sound. So let me go ahead and mute that again. Alright, so welcome to Elite Dangerous. I've been playing for about a week and a half now, and I'm really quite happy with this game. There are a lot of moving parts to this game, and so I just want to talk about one little thing tonight and go through how to do it, and that is exploration. There's a whole bunch of different ships that you can have for exploration and whatever. Right now, I am in a ship that is not well suited for exploration, so I need to switch over to another ship. So I have an Anaconda. And of course, the second I start to stream, a dog wants to go outside, of course. So let's go to my ships. There's my Sidewinder, and that's the ship that I want. This is the ship that I'm in right now. No, wait a second. No, I'm in an Anaconda right now. So this is the ship. Where is it? There it is. The SSB Liara Tassoni. That is my exploration ship. That is the ship that I want to use. So we're going to talk about how to do exploration, how to get kitted up for it, how to do it when you get there. So this is all going to be sort of no BS, just the basic fundamentals of how to do it in the most efficient and money-making way possible in the game. So here's my exploration ship, the Liara Tassoni, and we're going to go take a look at how it's kitted out. Now, there's a couple of really good exploration ships in this game. In fact, the Anaconda, if you set it up right, is a decent exploration ship. But the ship that I have now is the Diamondback Explorer. And the Diamondback Explorer is, in my view, the best pure exploration ship in the game. The Asp Explorer, and certainly the Anaconda, I mean, they have very close jump ranges, although not quite the jump range that this has. They also have a lot more slots for you to put equipment in and whatnot, but at the end of the day, they're super expensive. You can get this whole ship kitted out the way that I have it for 10 million or less. 10 million credits or less. It would be about 3 times that much, about 30 million to outfit an Asp Explorer. It's going to be a little more than that to set up a what is it, the Wraith that people use, or the Crate, I forget what it is, for exploration. And then, of course, the Anaconda. Now, this ship costs 1.3 million to buy stock, and then as you kit it out, it's going to cost more than that to outfit it. So, again, 10 million or less to outfit this, probably 30 to 40 million to outfit an Asp Explorer. And for an Anaconda, the base price is 146 million credits. So the most cost effective is the DBX. And the thing about the DBX is it has the longest jump range stock. Now again, I've only been playing the game for like a week and a half. I've played it a lot because I've taken time off during the holidays. But I am still not elite. I am one rank below elite. I'm a pioneer for explorer, and I'm a tycoon for trade, but I haven't hit elite in either one. I have an Anaconda. I've made enough money to buy one of those. I've had a couple of other ships that I've gotten rid of subsequently. Right now I have 3. I have my original little Sidewinder. I've got this, and I have my Anaconda. And for exploration, pound for pound, this is the best exploration ship in the game. So let's take a look at how we have it fitted out and how I got a 40 plus light year jump range on this ship. Again, no engineering, no special parts or anything like that. I don't have enough experience or time in this game to have gotten any of those super good things. I see these things about 80 light year jumps and whatnot. That would be great, but I'm a long way from getting those. I'm still trying to punch out elite and explorer. But how do we have this ship set up? first of all, hard points? None. That's easy. No weapons. We're a pure exploration ship. Go out in the deep black. You hopefully won't encounter anybody. No need for weapons. So, utility mounts? Again, easy. No utility mounts. Don't need them. We're stripping everything off of the ship because it has one purpose, and that is to do exploration. So we're trying to save as much weight as we can. So not having any weight in hard points or utility mounts saves on reactor space, which means you can put in a smaller reactor, and you don't have to worry about the extra weight impacting your jump range. So what we're worried about are the core and optional internals, since we don't have anything else. So we'll look at the core internals. Pretty much everything is a D-rated item. I have a 4D power plant. As you can see, it gives me just enough power to run everything with a tiny little bit of margin left over. The D-rated modules are the lightest modules in the game. So putting D-rated modules gives you the best jump range. So 4D power plant, 4D thrusters. Now, I probably don't need the full 4D thrusters. I could probably go with some smaller thrusters and increase my jump range. I don't know that I have any here in this shop. No, I can't do 3D thrusters on this ship because my ship is too big for those to work. So I have to go with 4D. So, okay, fine. That's the lightest thrusters I can put on this. Now, the one big non-D item is the frame shift drive. You want the longest jump range possible. So we're running a 5A frame shift drive, the best frame shift drive that we can stick in this machine. 3D life support. Again, the lightest modules, the D modules. 3D power distributor. I don't have any weapons or any utility mounts, so I don't need a full level 4 power distributor. I can't go below a 3D because it won't. My ship is too large to support a 2D or a 1D, but a 3D will work. That will save me some weight, and it gives me some extra range. In fact, do they have a 4D in the shop? Let's see. We can actually see what the difference would be. If I went to, a 4E would cut off a full light year of jump range. A 4D would cut off about a third of a light year of jump range. Again, I don't need it. I don't need all that extra capacity, so there's no reason to have it. So I've underpowered my power distributor. And 3D sensors. Again, the lightest sensors we can have. The fuel tank, well, you want the biggest fuel tank you can have, so I'm going with the 5C fuel store. So that's my core internals. My optional internals, and this is where it gets tricky because you can do a whole bunch of different things here. My fuel scoop. Actually, a 4A fuel scoop doesn't cost me anything in jump range over a 4D, and it also gives me a little faster fuel scooping. One of the complaints that people have about the Diamondback is that the fuel scooping is too slow. You know, when you're kiting around in an Anaconda with a 6A fuel scoop and it sucks in 5,000 tons per second, yeah, I'm sure it seems really easy to do fuel scooping. The fuel scoop is only a 4 level, so I'm going with the best I can. The nice thing about the Diamondback is it has excellent heat management. So whenever you're refueling at a star, you can actually get in closer to the star and pop in, 200 kilos per second plus into the ship. And so people have complained about the fuel scooping being too slow. Just getting closer to the star, I don't find it a particular problem. And I'm perfectly happy with it. And if that's the one drawback of this ship with a 40.12 light year jump range, I'll live with it. Don't worry too much about shields. Don't expect to be in combat. I may, want some shields in case I don't know, bump into something. So a 3D shield generator, that's the smallest I can fit on this ship with its mass. And again, the D-rated module is the lightest module. Now, one thing I do have is a 3A auto field maintenance unit. When you're out in the deep black, like I was yesterday, I took a 3,000 light year jaunt out to discover some new star systems and to map them, basically because I wanted my name on some star system in this game, and maybe someday someone will see my name when they go to that star system. When you're out that far, of course, there's no place to stop in at a station to repair your ship. So, field maintenance unit for long-range exploration is a must. It contains repair modules that will automatically repair your ship, and it can also be replenished. You can actually go and gather materials to replenish the consumables that the field maintenance unit needs to work. But assuming that you can gather the materials, you can take a field maintenance unit and it will keep your ship repaired basically indefinitely, as long as you can keep finding materials on planets. So you got to have a field maintenance unit. We're not going to need it for what we're doing today. And if I'm doing local exploration and I have systems nearby that are inhabited, you can probably do without it. If we do get rid of it, I'm wondering, let's see, let's store it for a second. Let's see what that does with my jump range. We'll store that unit real quick. Actually, doesn't affect my jump range at all. I'm still at 40.12 light years. All it affects is my power usage, and I have enough power to power it with this. So we are going to pull that auto field maintenance unit back onto my ship. Alright, anyway, auto field maintenance unit, the AFMU as they call it, really important for long range trips like the one I took yesterday. I have a cargo rack. I might want to store 8 tons of materials because I may need, iron or manganese or sulfur or whatever to keep my field maintenance unit supplied with consumables. So in case I need to go pick some up, I got a cargo rack. Doesn't affect your jump range, so you might as well have it in there. Now this one is iffy. We're not going to be using this today, but if you need to land on a planet to gather materials, you need to have a planetary vehicle hangar with your little scarab in it so that you can land on the planet, take your scarab out, collect materials, bring them back to your ship, and store them in your cargo. So I have one. If I was to get rid of it, it would give me a little extra jump range. Let's pull it out and see what it does. Let's store it real quick. Yeah, so I go from 40.12 to 40.92, so it gives me 0.8 light years in jump range. So, I'll live with that for long-term exploration because it's so useful whenever you're out there and you have to gather materials. You have to have it. So, you got to have your planetary vehicle hangar with your scarab. Another mandatory item, the detailed surface scanner. Notice this is in a class 2 slot, even though it's a class 1 item. I'll tell you why in a second, but you have to have a detailed surface scanner because that is where your real money is made. For example, if you go to a brand new world that nobody has ever discovered, you're the original discoverer. It's a terraformable water world, or heck, even better, an Earth-like world. So you find this Earth-like world, right? If you don't do a detailed surface scan, that's only going to give you $707,000. A detailed surface scan will give you $1.1 million, and if it is a completely undiscovered world, you're the first person to find an Earth-like world, doing a detailed surface scan will give you $3.2 million, $3,249,900. So basically, $3.25 million for doing a detailed surface scan, as opposed to $702,000 for just doing a full spectrum scan from long range. So that detailed surface scanner, that's your money maker. You got to have that. And the reason why it's in a level 2 slot is because my level 1 slots are full. One thing I have to have is a planetary approach suite. Can't land on a planet without it, so it is a must-have. The other 2 things, well, I'm a noob, so I find them useful. Actually, I could live without the Super Cruise Assist. The Super Cruise Assist just sort of jets you across the system on autopilot. which is kind of a nice thing to have. But if you're willing to sit and pay attention, you can live without that. The advanced docking computer, I guess you could live without that as well if you're willing to manually dock and manually take off every place that you land. It's just easier and quicker to do an auto dock, and I kind of imagine if it was really the year 3300 or 3033, whatever the year is in the game, that you would have automatic docking and automatic launching, that you wouldn't actually have to do it manually. It's not freaking 1917. So I have both. I could live without the Super Cruise Assist. If I really, really needed something to stick in this level 2 slot, the Super Cruise Assist would be what I would dump. I would keep the advanced docking computer though. But both of these are optional. And these are really, when you think about it, the only two optional exploration items in this entire loadout. Because you can live without both of those, but you have to have the planetary surface suite, and you have to have your detailed surface scanner, your planetary vehicle hangar, your AFMU, a little cargo rack to store stuff, and all the other goodies. So just stock, this gives me a 40.12 light year range. Now I have an Anaconda. I have used it for exploring in the past couple of days. I kitted it out. I got almost, not quite, but almost 40 light years. I got 38, almost 39 light years out of it. It's a super big ship though, and you know its capabilities are kind of wasted as an explorer, especially when you can get a longer range stock from the DBX. So I have the DBX, and this is how it's kitted out. Alright, so now that we have our DBX all spec'd out and ready for 40 light year jumps, we can go ahead and make those jumps. So everything is refueled and repaired, so I'm all ready to go. So let's go ahead and do a little exploring. So we're going to go ahead and hit auto launch because I have the advanced docking computer, and this will get me out of the system, or get me out of the station. And I am going to go to a website, and one of the bad things about Elite Dangerous is that there's not a lot of help to it. It's a very deep game with a huge learning curve, and trying to figure out how to do things like exploring isn't really made easy by the tutorials. As good as they are, they're just not detailed enough. So hence this video, which is a tutorial. And there are a couple of websites that you're going to find invaluable. One of them is eddb.io. Another one is Coriolis.io. Another one is Inara.cz. That's INARA. And then there is edtools.ddns.net. And what edtools.ddns.net has is something called the Road to Riches. And what the Road to Riches does is it just asks you what system are you at now, how many light years do you want to go out, and once you answer those questions, it will give you a list of planets that you can visit. And you can scan those planets or systems and map some planets and all the other cool things that you might want to do. So we're going to do one little thing real quick here. We're going to go to one system. We're going to scan it. We're going to come back here to Ehekatl. And then we're going to sell that data. And we're just going to see what one scanning mission gives us. So that's all we're going to do. We're going to do one exploration mission in our ship. Now, the place where we're going to go, and I'm pulling this again off of edtools.ddns.net, and the planet we're going to want to go is Jardinier. So, now that I'm out of the station and I can go anywhere that I want to go, I'm going to go into the galaxy map, and galaxy map is going to pop up, and I want to go to Jardinier. So the system name from edtools.ddns.net's Road to Riches is Jardinier. So Jardonner. Oops. E-R-E. And Jardonner is way over here, 159 light years away. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to plot a route to Jardonner. It sounds very French. We will go to Jardonner. Alright, so I am already fully throttled up, so I'm going to hit Y on my controller.
Cannot comply.
Oh, wait a second. Cannot comply. I've got my hard points deployed with my scanners active, so I'm going to pull those scanners in. I actually hit my scanner button a second ago. You may have seen it. We're going to open up our frame shift drive again. And now I've got to point my ship at where we want to go. Now, if you look at my center console, right on the upper left-hand part of the big circle in the middle, there's a tiny little circle with a crosshair in it and a little dot. And that dot is the location of my target, which is right in front of me now in the crosshairs. And once I align my ship with the target, I go into hyperspace with my frame shift drive. Hyperspace, also known as the loading screen for the next system. And I'm in the next system. This has this big ugly red star that I can't refuel at. While I'm here, however, I'm going to go ahead and honk the system by hitting my discovery scanner, and here's why they call it honk. That's the honk. And I can't refuel at this star, so I'm just going to move away from it a little bit. And because I have plotted a route, if you look over on the HUD down at the bottom, all on the left-hand side, you can see what appears to be a planetary system. That's my target. And in that little crosshair circle between the main circle and the planetary representation, my little crosshair circle shows me that I have to fly up to get to the location I want. There it is.
Frame shift drive charging.
I can hit my frame shift drive and it will charge up, and it will take me to Crucis Sector MNT B37, which is a 34.2 light year jump. Alright, so now we're jumping to our next system. I think I'm like 2 jumps away from where I want to be at Jardonner. Okay, I can refuel at this star, so this is great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sneak up on Mr. Sun a little bit. When I get close enough, my fuel scoop will automatically deploy.
Fuel scooping.
There it is. And it shows me my heat, and I'm just going to go ahead and turn around so you can see that on the HUD a little easier. You want to stay away from that green line that you see around the sun. That gets us a little too close. We don't want to be that close. Now, with this ship, because it has such great heat management, I can come to about here and just sort of stop and just hang out here next to the sun while it refuels. If you look down on the lower right-hand side, you can see my fueling meter, and there's also a fueling meter at the HUD there in the center below heat where it says fuel. It shows me that I'm refueling at 215 kilos per second. And so this is refueling my fuel tank. And this is how you'll refuel when you're out in the deep black. You'll just go to stars and you'll find the fuel that you want. Now that I've done so, I want to move away from the sun here. And you can see behind the sun, there's the target to where I'm going. Crucis Sector, whatever, it's hard to read with that orange, 35.8 light years away. Obviously I have to get around the sun to align with that. So I'm going to put the sun behind me, and I'm just going to hit my throttle and pull away from it and get out of the sun's heat. And now that I've done so, I can go ahead and sort of slowly realign myself with it, hit my frame shift drive, and this will take me to the next location. And once my frame shift drive is charged,
4, 3, 2, 1.
hit it, Chewie. I like the little creaking and groaning sounds your ship makes in hyperspace. Sound design on this is fantastic. Alright, so I'm there. And again, I always sort of refuel every time I go to a place. You don't have to do that. I kind of like keeping my fuel tank full. I'm actually getting way too close to the sun. So let's pull back a little bit. I want to keep it at around 230, 240 per second to avoid overheating. That'll give me some nice fueling, but will not cause my ship to burn hot in space. So I want to keep my heat down below 80% at the very least, preferably below 70%. Alright, so now I'm fueled, and again I'm going to put Mr. Sun behind me, and I can start accelerating away from it. And having done so, I guess I didn't really need to accelerate from it. I was already pointing straight at the target. So this is going to take me to my next jump. By the way, I should be honking all of these systems when I land in them. So I should just automatically hit the discovery scanner. It's only worth like, $1,000 to honk the system. But, it's $1,000 just for pressing a button. So once again, we're going to zip around the sun here. And there's my target, Jardiniere. And so we can just go ahead and head straight to Jardiniere. If I need to refuel, I'll refuel there.
Frameshift drive charging.
Alright, this is our target system. And so, there's a couple of things that I'm going to want to do. I'm going to want to honk the system. Then I'm going to want to individually scan all the planets in the system. So, we'll hit our discovery scanner, we'll honk it. Honk. And while I'm here, I might as well just refuel a little. And we'll fill our tank. See, once you get in this close, it refuels the tank pretty quick. You can see how fast the refueling is happening. It's, 10 seconds worth of your time.
Fuel scooping complete.
And we're refueled. Now, these are where all the planets are. I want to actually head downward out of the orbital plane, or as it is known, the plane of the ecliptic. And I want to get a full look at everything in the system without Mr. Sun hiding all of the good stuff. So I'm just going to head away, and what I usually do is I just head down until I hit light speed. And you can see on my HUD the little sun is getting smaller and smaller on the bottom. So I think I'm probably far enough away that now I can scan the ecliptic without the sun getting in the way. Hopefully. Yeah, the sun is above me, so I now have a clear, unobstructed view, I think, to everything in the system. So, now that I've done that, I'm going to have to throttle all the way back. I'm still in Super Cruise. I haven't dropped back out of Super Cruise into normal thrusters yet, and I'm not gonna, for the most part. And while I'm here in Super Cruise, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the full spectrum scanner, FSS mode. So this is my full spectrum scanner. So let's take a look at what we're seeing here. The very middle is my crosshair. And as I move, I can put my crosshair on an object of some type. Now, what kind of object is this? Well, below the crosshair, immediately below it, there is this filtered spectral analysis thing that I'm moving right back and forth. Now, different planets broadcast at different spectrums. Human broadcasts are all way down here at the low end. And so those can all be safely ignored. Every time you see one of these squiggly little transmission lines or spectrum lines on your spectral analysis here, that tells you that there's an object that can be scanned. And if you look at the very lower right-hand corner of the screen, you will see that as I move the spectrum down the scale, different items will show up. For example, gas giants are up here, and then we move into water worlds there in this area, and then ammonia worlds and Earth-like worlds and rocky ice worlds and ice bodies and all the other stuff, metal-rich bodies, asteroids, all the way down to my different human signal sources, my transient and concentrated signal sources, which I am pretty much going to ignore for exploration. And whenever you're going out in the black, like I did yesterday, I went out 3,000 light years. There are no transmissions. There's only the planets. So we have all these different planets here, and what we have to do is scan them. Now, as I pick a particular frequency, you can see the little, what look like arrows, but they're actually little frequency squigglies around the crosshair. And all those things that are pulsating in blue, those are signal sources. So let's go to this one here. So I have a signal source, and then I have to move my scanner up and down to see what kind it is. It's clearly a gas giant of some sort. And so once I've got it marked with a solid circle, I see two things. Number one, I see a circle, solid white circle, and then there's a lighter gray circle around it. What that's telling me is that there is more than one signal source. I've locked into one, but there are other signal sources there. So when I zoom in, I'm going to see multiple signal sources, most likely. Gas giants generally have a bunch of moons, and that's probably what I'm seeing. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. And when I zoom in, look, I have a whole bunch of things that are popping up, pulsating in blue. Still, my gas giant is still what is marked on the spectrum, so I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. Well, zooming in there, I have a couple of things going on. I have this signal here, whatever that is, and I still have my gas giant. So I finally am zoomed in enough, I think, to analyze my gas giant. So I'm going to go ahead and click it, and it's going to pop open and do the analysis. Most of the time, all I have to do is just pop this planet up, and then I can get back out of it. But not all the time. Look in the upper right-hand corner of the screen where it says locations, none. Sometimes when you scan a planet, it's going to provide you with human outposts, if there are any, and geological locations. So if you're way out in the deep black and you need some materials to collect to get in your scarab and drive around on the planet to collect materials, it will show that there are material locations there. And sometimes that scanning takes a little while, so you just have to sort of let it do its thing. There'll just be a little spinny icon where it says right under locations. When it finishes analyzing, it will show you what the locations are. Most of the time, though, there's nothing. Certainly gas giants, or you'd never land on them, so there are no materials, so they will always show up as none. So you don't have to spend a lot of time here. You just got to pop the planet in, zoom in, and then zoom back out. And now that we've done so, we've got that planet. Now, one of the things that I didn't do when I was zooming in was I didn't look at these other planets that are there. So I thought there were another couple of bodies there, but it was a resource extraction site. So once I scanned the planet, the resource extraction site came up instead of pulsating blue. Okay, great. So we can zoom out again. Okay, now at this level of zoom, we've got some other things happening. So these are probably, most of the time, they're sort of icy bodies around a gas giant. So we're just going to go ahead and move our spectrum scanner until we find out what they are. Pop it in. And this one is scanning. Look in the upper right hand. It says locations, scanning. This is an icy body. It looks as if it has some locations where I might be able to land. We're not going to land, but if I wanted to, I could. By the way, if you're going to land on a place, notice all of the information on the right-hand side of the screen about that planet. You do want to land on a planet that has, half a G or less for your first time. You don't want to be trying to land on a high G planet as a newbie. But, okay, we've finished scanning. There are 20 geological items, so that one took a long time. I don't usually like waiting for those, but I wanted to show you them mapped. So here, pop in. Oh, it has locations too. Well, this is unusual. Usually they say none on icy bodies, so you can just zoom in and then zoom way back out. So, once again, we're going to let it do its thing and find those geological locations, even though in the current context I really just don't care about them. So there's 20 geological locations, and there's a human base on that world as well. So we've mapped that one. Alright, let's back out a little bit more. And there's our other planets. Okay, none there. Usually it doesn't take that long to show you none. And none there, so we got that one mapped. And there are 2 planets here to map at this zoom level, so we'll pop that one. And pop this one. And that is 8 of the 24 bodies in the system. And again, the scanning is taking place. Seriously, guys, this doesn't usually happen. 9 times out of 10, it just says none. By the way, you don't have to stick around for the scanning. It doesn't really help you with money or anything. So if you don't want to do that, and we are going to stop doing it, believe me, you don't have to wait for the scanning to complete. Sometimes there are like 50 or 60 geological locations. It takes forever for it to do the scanning. In this case, 1 human location and 25 geological locations, which is great, but I don't actually care about that if I'm just doing exploration just to name things and get money. I only really care about that whenever I start needing materials. Okay, so it looks like we've mapped the little mini system of this gas giant and its 5 moons. So now we can move down here. Again, that is a transient signal source that I don't care about. So we're looking for actual planets. There appears to be one right there. What kind of planet is it? Appears to be another gas giant, which means there'll be multiple things to map there. So we'll get to a zoom level where we can see something here. There we go. There's my gas giant mapped. Oh, and those are resource extraction sites. And now these are all probably moons. Again, multiple planets at the zoom level. So scan that one. That's number 10. And that's number 11 in the system. And that was everything there. Those 2 little moons in orbit around each other. What else is over here? Well, there's that. Alright, so we've mapped that little planet. And I think that's everything at this zoom level, correct? Yep, now we have some other things that are a little farther out. So we mapped that. And we'll map that. Multiple planets here as well. Oops, lost the lock on it. Mapped. And we'll come up here. And what is this? That appears to be a transient signal source. I don't usually care about those. I'm going to go ahead and map it simply to turn the blue off. Ooh, and there's something way, way up here, which is a... it's another transient signal source. Okay, so we don't care about transient signal sources for the most part. So let's move our scanner back up here planet ways. And oops, there's a planet right there. It's another gas giant. Alright. Oops. Not quite properly aligned. So there's my gas giant. And then these will all be lower on the spectrum. There we go. Oh, what happened? Lost lock. One. That one scanned. That one scanned. And one more up here, it looks like. I'll scan that. Alright, that took care of that section. So now our remaining planets are all up here. There's an Earth-like world in here somewhere. Now the nice thing about ED Tools is that website that I mentioned earlier that has the Road to Riches on it, is it tells you if the worlds are terraformable water worlds or if they're Earth-like worlds or high metal content worlds that you need to do a detailed surface scan of to get the most money. Like I said, you know, the difference between a surface scanner and just doing the FSS scanner is hundreds of thousands of dollars or credits. So all these water worlds, if they're terraformable, you want to scan it. We'll talk about what that means here in a minute. So we still have 2 more planets to scan in this system. But as you can see, those blue circles there, those tell you that they're water worlds. So we actually have 2 water worlds. Now, water worlds are nice, but the terraformable ones are the ones you really care about because those are the $1 million to $3 million payouts. And we found an Earth-like world. Thank you, ED Tools, for sending me to the Jardinier system. So we've got one more planet, and I'm wondering if it's up in here. Yeah, it appears to be. I missed one when I scanned up here. So this one last little spectrum line that we see right there, last little rocky ice world, is somewhere in here, and I missed it. Right there. So when I scan this, we're going to go from 23 to 24 bodies scanned, and our in the lower left, our 94% will jump to 100%, telling us we have fully scanned the system. Alright, so now we've scanned the system, we can exit FSS mode. Now we can talk about the systems, the actual planets that we're going to do a detailed surface scan on. So a couple of ways that we can do this. Easiest way is just to go to the system map, and once the system map pops up, we can now move over here and see all these planets. Now there is an information tab over on the left, and if I flop over to that, as I put my mouse over the planet, notice this planet here, planet 2. There's a sentence there that says this body is a candidate for terraforming. Water worlds are okay, but terraformable water worlds are great, because that's where your $1 million payouts come from, or $3 million payouts, depending on the circumstance. So we're definitely going to want to map that world. So that's a candidate for terraforming. This world, this body is a candidate for terraforming. And then this world, Earth-like world, yeah, we definitely want to map that planet. All the rest of these here, we just don't care much about. We could do surface scans, and by the way, Class 2 gas giants do pay some money, like 100,000 or so, which if you want to map them, if they're easy to get to, okay, I guess you can. But in our case, we really only care about these 3 worlds. So we have 2 terraformable water worlds, which are these 2 here. And by the way, this is known as Jardinier A2. There's only one sun in Jardinier, and so that sun will be called Jardinier A. If there were multiple suns, there would be Jardinier B, Jardinier C, and so forth. because sometimes you get binary star systems that have, or trinary star systems, or even more. So you'll have stars A, B, C, and D. So this is star A, and its planets are numbered 1 through N. So this is Jardinier A1, Jardinier A2, Jardinier A3, or since there's only one sun in this system, it doesn't need to be called Jardinier A, it's just Jardinier. So technically this is Jardinier 1, not Jardinier A1. If there were multiple suns in this system, the A, B, and C for the sun designations would be important. So we're going to map these 3 worlds here. So we can go ahead and just set a waypoint right here. We can go ahead and select Jardinier 1 or Jardinier 2. And as you can see, if we look over here, Jardinier 2 is already selected. And it's 39 light seconds away, so an easy jaunt for us. So we're going to go to Jardinier 2. Now, throttle, really important here. I could use my Super Cruise Assist, but that will want to put me in orbit around the planet, which is too close. I don't want to get that close to the planet, so I don't want to go into orbit. On the other hand, I don't want to go to full speed here and jam across the system like a maniac. So I'm going to lower my throttle down to about 60 to 70%. And that way it'll give me a nice speed to go over there. And as I get closer to the planet, the mass of the planet inhibits the frame shift drive, and so it automatically slows you down. And so as long as you don't have your throttle too high, you can just fly straight in. As you can see, my speed is dropping to 1.15 C, 0.1 C, now into millions of meters per second. And I'm just going to go in, and at some point here when the planet gets big enough, and this is a judgment thing, I'm going to stop. I want it to be big enough to scan easily, but not so big that it fills up too much of my screen. So I want to surface scan this planet, do a detailed surface scan. So I'm going to go into my surface scanner, and a couple of things before I start scanning. Over on the right hand side of the screen it says probes, infinite. I have an infinite number of probes. Below that, efficiency target, 7 probes. Okay, this is a big world. And it's hard to map big worlds like this all in one go. Sometimes you have to fly around to the back. Now we're going to try not to do that this time by sending a probe around the back side of the planet. So we'll see if that works. It may or may not. So how do I fire the probes? Well, I generally fire a probe into the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and fire that probe off. I usually do that last because these contrails are kind of irritating and they obscure your view. But here's how this works. See that little long line that's bisected by a white dotted line? And my crosshair is a little circle around that line. So if I pop it right there, that's going to hit on exactly the edge of the planet. If I want it to go a little past the edge of the planet, I would fire it out here somewhere, and if I wanted it to come in some, I would fire it there. So I'm going to try to get around the edge of the planet just a little bit with these 2 probes here. So I'm going to fire right about there, and then again going just slightly past the middle. And this is really more of an art than a science. It works a lot of times, and a lot of times it doesn't. So it's really a matter of luck. So I'm going to fire that there. I'm going to do the same thing for the polar axis here. I'm going to fire it out just a little long. I'm going to fire this one out just a little long. Okay. And by the way, this crosshair never actually is fully still, so it tries to screw with you and make it harder. Alright, so I have mapped 70, 71, 85, 86% of the planet. Now I don't want to drive around to the back of the planet to map the side I can't see. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to shoot one of these probes around the planet. If you go too far, you'll miss the planet completely. And it'll say miss on your crosshair. I don't want to go that far. but I do want to get this around the edge of the planet by a pretty good space. So again, this is all a big guess, but I'm going to fire it right about here. Okay, and by the way, while we're doing this, let's get out of this mode and let's see if we can chase our probe around the planet real quick. Let's see how far around, because I really want it to go hit the backside. I don't think it went far enough.
Surface scan complete.
Up! It did hit far enough. I have mapped 100% of the surface of the planet. So by wrapping that probe around the back of the planet, I mapped just enough to get 100% coverage. So the target was 7 probes. I did it in 6. So yay me. Alright, so that's our first planet. That was planet 2. And this is really inconvenient because the planets are moving along in their orbital planes, so sometimes they'll be close, sometimes they'll be all the way across the system. I actually want to map Jardinier 2, 3, and 4. 3 at this point is closer than 4, although they're happily all real close together. Sometimes the planets in their orbits are on the opposite side of the system, so they're like 1,000 light seconds away. And in a binary system, they can be anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 to up to 25,000. Heck, I've seen 200,000 light seconds away. And that's a lot of time shooting across the system. I don't think I want to spend that much time. But right now, Jardinier 3 is really close, so we're just going to lock that destination. And look back at our cockpit. Jardinier 3 is over here. Alright, so we're just going to pop our throttle a little bit. Now we're really close to Jardinier 2, so we can't move very fast because if you look at our throttle down here, you can see there's not a lot of room on the throttle because our frame shift drive is inhibited. The further we get from a mass, the more speed that we can pile on. We're not going to have a lot of time to pile on speed, however, because we're only 1.5 light seconds away from Jardinier 3 here. So I'm going to give it some gas, but this is going to take a couple of seconds to get over there. Again, don't want to use more than about 60% throttle. And if I keep the throttle down, it will automatically slow as I approach Jardinier 3. So if you look at my speed in the upper left-hand corner of the center HUD on the dashboard there, you can see I'm doing about 4 million meters per second. Now, as I get closer to Jardinier 3, that's going to start declining. See, it's already slowing down. It got to 10, now it dropped to 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. So the mass of these planets is slowing me down, which is a little irritating, having all of these planets all so close together. But that's just a quirk of this particular system. So this planet is Jardinier 1 is slowing us down a bunch because we're in its gravity well. Now we're out of it, and you can see my speed is starting to increase a little bit. Now, as I approach Jardinier 3, my speed is going to drop again. But it's supposed to anyway. So I'm going to slow it down now because I'm not on autopilot. I don't know, I'd like to be a little closer. If you get too close to the planet, it's harder to be as precise in your placement of your drones. Same thing if you're too far away. There's a sweet spot, but I'm not entirely sure what it is. You just kind of have to do it by feel. We're going to stay right here. We have to come to a stop in order to fire our surface scanner. So again, this says 7 probes. Okay, so let's try to space them out again a little bit here. So we'll do that one. Once again, we're going to fire one around the back side of the planet. We'll see how that works for us. We want this one spaced out a little bit here. This one as well. The one up at the top too. And then we'll pop in dead, well, not quite dead center, but somewhere up. Let's see where my...
Scanned by 50%.
All right, we're at 75, 79, 80, 85. Okay, great. So I did manage to wrap that drone around the back side of the planet nicely. So we'll just fire this one, and this will give us full and complete planet mapping. And our efficiency target was 7 probes. We did it in 6. And there we go.
Complete.
100% scanned. Great. So we'll get out of our scanner, and now we will pick our last planet, which was Jardinier 4, which is the Earth-like world, and it is 16.2 light seconds away. So we were happy. Now, look at my crosshair target, by the way. And again, it's just on the upper left-hand side of my main center HUD on the dashboard with the little crosshairs, the little circle with the crosshairs in it. Notice that the planet is showing up as a circle, not as a solid white dot. That means it's behind me. And so I'm going to need to turn in that direction to run it to the edge of the crosshair circle, and then it'll start coming back into the center as a solid white dot. And there is Jardinier 4, my planet. So, once again, we're going to go with about 50% throttle here. And we'll head over to Jardinier 4 so that we can map that. Now, in reality, because I've spent a lot of time talking, it won't take you this long to do this. This is just an explanatory video, of course, so there's a lot of extra time that we've spent. But we're 57 minutes into the video, of which the first probably 15 or 20 minutes of it was just describing the ship layout. So we're probably about 35 minutes into actual exploration here. And I think we've made some actually pretty good money. We'll have to go back to Ehecatl and see how much money we actually made. A little confusing here where all these different planets and targets are aligned, but let's just get it aligned here. And as we get into the gravity well of the planet, it starts slowing us down. And okay, I think I'm going to want to stop right here. Okay, that's about as close as I want to be to this planet. So we'll go back into our detailed surface scanner. And again, large planet says it needs 7 probes. So we're going to try doing again what we did last time. Firing our probes out just a little wide. And firing one of them out very wide. And we're going to get up here at the top. And then one right at top dead center.
Surface scanned by 50%.
And is that going to get me my 100%?
Surface
Yes, it
complete.
did. So we managed to do it. So we have now mapped all 3 planets in this system. Let's go back to Ehecatl and see how much money we made in just this one star system. So we'll go back to my galaxy map. And we'll type in Ehecatl for my system. By the way, some of these system names, I've been using really simple ones. Some of them have really complex names. Get yourself a wireless keyboard and like I'm on Xbox, so I have a wireless keyboard with a USB dongle. That's going to make entering in these names way easier. So this is going to plot our route back to Ehecatl. And actually, I have an even simpler way of doing this. Maybe I don't want to go to Ehecatl. Maybe I want to clear this route. My home station is bookmarked as Mickelson Port. I can actually go, and let's move back over here, just at random. I can actually go here in my cartographics screen here, and I have my home port bookmarked, Mickelson Port. So I can actually click on that and hit plot route to Mickelson Port. And it'll actually give me full plotting all the way back to the dock. So that's an easier way of doing it. So when I drop into Ehecatl, I've already got the waypoint set for Mickelson Port, and I can just go straight there. So that's just a little tip for you for making your life a little easier. So now that we've done that, let's charge up my frame shift drive, and we have to point our way to our waypoint, which is Guillaume Crua.
4, 3, 2, 1.
And we come out. Now, I just want to notice at the very bottom right, FSD cooldown. That tells me I can't run my frame shift drive until it's cooled down enough. Fortunately, the cooldowns here are pretty quick, and I am not even going to refuel. I'll just pay money for fuel when we get back to Ehecatl. I'm primarily concerned with getting us back now.
Frame shift drive
So
charging.
let's pop our frame shift drive. I was thinking I was flying a little close to the sun, but I guess I'm fine.
4, 3.
By the way, look at the name of that star. That's why a keyboard is so important, even for your Xbox, so that you can type in that stuff. Because this uses the actual stellar catalog names that scientists use, and scientists don't make anything easy. Again, notice my next location is behind the star, so I'm going to have to go around the star to get to it. So I'm just going to shoot this way. I can actually go up into free look and look over the top of my cockpit. Nice thing about the Diamondback, has this nice expansive cockpit window scheme. Okay, there we go. We'll hit my frame shift drive, and we'll go to Crucis Sector OI-T B3-5.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, as you notice, my fuel now is about half. So I'm using a lot of fuel to do these long jumps. And that's why the fuel scoop is so important. We can't turn on our frame shift drive until our destination is no longer occluded by the sun.
Frame shift drive charging.
There we go. Now we can go back and point at it.
Four, three, two, 1.
Now, the nice thing about the Road to Riches tool at edtools.ddns.net is that it gives you a list of about 300 systems, and it shows you all of the terraformable high metal content worlds and terraformable water worlds and Earth-like worlds that might be in those systems. And so you only have to do a detailed surface scan of those specific systems, just like we did over at Jardiniere. By the way, I haven't been honking any of the systems on the way back, but you should always honk a system every time you see a system. And the nice thing about ED Tools is that it just gives you these 300 star systems with all the stuff that you need to map them. You know where they are, you know what stars to go to. You just follow that, and if you go to all 300 planets, that gives you anywhere between, depending on the route, it'll be anywhere between, I don't know, 300 to 450 million bucks. Let's see, I can manually go to Mickelson Port, of course, but since we're here, notice it's already selected because we selected it in our galaxy map. I'm going to go ahead and just do Super Cruise Assist, and that will just take me right to the entrance of Mickelson Port. And Mickelson Port is in orbit around this planet, and this planet, of course, will inhibit our speed as we approach the port. But with Super Cruise Assist, you don't have to do anything. It'll flash a Y. You press Y to get out of Super Cruise. You don't actually have to do anything. This will just take you and exit you from Super Cruise automatically if you have the Super Cruise Assist module. That means you're not manually flying your ship, of course, but, well, you know, flying between systems or between stars is a little tedious. Super Cruise does help a lot. There we go. Now this will automatically disengage for us and put us out about 10 kilometers from the port.
Alright. Oscar Tango. Station services are prepped for your arrival. Greetings, Commander.
I'm going a little fast. I don't like you to go more than 100 meters per second. But I'm going to do it just to get close enough, and then I'll slow down. And once I'm here, I can go to my navigation panel, go to contacts, and I can request docking. And there we go, request docking. And as long as I'm fully throttled down, they will take over for me and auto dock me, which means that I can actually go and do some cinematics of the landing. So there's my little ship. And nothing's happening. Oh, I'm going backwards somehow. Shit. Okay, there we go. You have to be at 0 throttle to auto dock. Okay. Now they're taking control and bringing me into the station. Hell, I'll take a screenshot of this.
Landing gear deployed.
And there we go. We're down. And now that we've landed,
Landing successful. Systems
As long as we're more than 20 light years away from the star systems we mapped, we can sell our data. We didn't have to come all the way back here. This is just my home port. And so the more data that I sell here, the happier they are. I could have saved myself 1,000 credits had I scooped the sun for fuel. I didn't. But now that I'm home, I'm going to go to Universal Cartographics. And let's see what they're going to tell us. So, $2.8 million for scanning just that one system. So, I honked a couple of other systems that gave me, $1,200 per honk. But here in Jardinier, that's where the majority of my money is. As you can see, I have the detailed surface scans of the planets. Jardinier 2 is worth $613,000. Jardinier 3 was worth $583,000. Oh, I'm sorry. Which is the... what was Jardinier... Did I not scan one of the planets? I only did a detailed surface scan of Jardinier 2 and 3. Where's my Jardinier 4? Huh. Alright, well, anyway, all of the other systems that I went through and just honked, I got some money from them simply from honking them. But overall, I made $2.85 million, or credits, just by going to one system and mapping it. And that is a system that was visited. Had I gone to a completely unknown system, I would have gotten an extra probably $3 or $4 million from that system. So this would have gone from 2.8 to about $5.5 or $6 million for charting one system. Yeah, it's a little bit of a pain whenever you're going out into the deep black and charting, but the payoffs are good if you find terraformable water worlds or Earth-like worlds. They pay a lot of money. An Earth-like world, your first discovery, is $3 million for that mapping. $3 million for a terraformable water world. Anyway, I'm going to sell my cartographic data, sell that whole page back to them. And there we go. We have done it. My balance is up to 149 million credits. So I could actually buy myself a nice little ship, couldn't I? So there we go. That is exploration in a nutshell. So 73 minutes in and out. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later. My screenshot got uploaded. Yay. As I said, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you later. So long.